But yeah, man, what's been going on with you, bro?
Uh,
How's your news? How's no future, man?
no future's going well. I guess we're chugging along. Uh, I think that's about the only update I have right now, so that it still exists. I think I said this the last time we attempted this too. So yeah, sorry, but
Nah,
oh,
that's
I guess
cool,
we
man.
did just like yesterday. I dropped the coil episode with Xylon, but I mean beyond
Just
that, yeah,
just plug in and chug in.
yeah.
That's cool, man. Oh, yo, the coil episode with Xylon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's got to be good, man. Right? That's got to be really good.
Well, it could have been a lot better if I hadn't made a giant mistake the first time we attempted recording that. So that's on me. That's thankfully the only major audio or like recording mishap that's happened with the show so far, but it still felt really, really bad that happened. But yeah.
Well, that's yeah, I don't know. Your no future in general is such a at least the episodes I've listened to are so well put together. I mean, as far as just sonically, you've got like the soundtrack in the background, which I don't do. So I think no future's pretty pro.
Uh, well, thank you for saying that. It feels
Yeah.
very like put like glommed together and very like DIY to me. I'd like it to be like I don't know. There are things I would like to change about it going forward, but a lot of it's just due to time. I don't have enough time to do it the way that like I actually envision it being in my head, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What coil record did you do with Xylon?
Oh, we didn't like single it on like a specific record. We just tried to talk
Oh,
about as much as we could, which probably biting off a little bit more than we could chew there, but we did our best.
yeah, you're a
There's still,
huge coil fan,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's like it
yeah,
is, yeah. Yeah,
yeah. There's
I think Ape of Naples is probably gotta be. I think
that's your
that's I
favorite.
think that's gotta be the one for me.
Okay.
Yeah. That maybe Music to Play in the Dark. I don't know. That's
Okay.
quite quite sick. Um just check this shit. Yeah, select the microphone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. We're cool, man.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. I've been marinating in some Beefheart for a while. I'm psyched. I am psyched to actually dive in here, man, because I've been like deep on Beefheart's music for so many years, but
Yeah.
I have a feeling you might know more about him as an actual like just like his life. I don't know, just a little bit that we talked. Like I think you might be able to fill in some gaps about just like the man, I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, reading that like 800-page book that like John French did probably helps a lot on that front, but
Yeah, which I
yeah,
haven't read, and it's kind of like when Beefheart comes up, I'm like, that is a huge influence on me. Like he's a band, but then I'm like, I actually haven't read that book. I don't, but a lot of the time, like, I don't know. I don't like read, like, I don't know. I don't like go deep on the lore, but with him, there really is lore
yeah. No, there is
to
a lot
know
of lore,
about. I mean,
but at the same time, at the end of the day, like the work itself definitely is the more important thing. So there's no, you shouldn't feel like bad about not having read the fucking book or something. Oh, also like before I do that again, language wise, do I need to rein that in since it is YouTube?
oh no. Why do they censor stuff based on cursing when you
Well,
speak?
no, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you because you do this way more often. Or yeah, I've never done this on YouTube, and it seems like maybe that could be a thing. So I should ask before we get into it, I guess.
I'm literally like no N word is like literally the only policy and shit.
Okay, I think we're gonna be good then. We're
That's
gonna be good.
pretty easy. That's an easy one. You could
Yeah,
bat that one out of the park. Um, yeah, man. Fucking decals, dude. How
yeah,
sick is decals?
it's so sick.
It's
It's
so fucking sick, man.
yeah,
Let's see who we got in the chat. It's like some of these it's like I don't bullshit enough. You know what I mean? Like because it's like some of these will just start and we're like immediately talking about
oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
hyper deep stuff like 2 minutes in, and it's just like nobody's even there yet. We got some folks in here though. We got Aniket, the homie.
Okay. What's up,
Um,
Aniket? How you doing?
yo, Discord, last things Discord represent. I haven't played. Yeah, I should plug the Discord. Anyone who
Yeah,
wants to get in the last things Discord, please just email me, chardlurker@gmail.com. yeah, the only reason I don't post the link is just because I don't want like completely random people clicking, but you don't have to apply, just reach out, you know.
Yeah.
It's been fun, man. People have been really yakking up a storm.
Yeah.
Xylon is like running shit. Like he's just like they're like just it's the best. Like just text walls. Like you just learn so much, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I unfortunately don't get to check it out as often as I'd like to, but every time I check in, it really seems like Xylon's going off on something, which I love to see.
It's great. No, people are like really, yeah, getting into their just their breadth of knowledge. It's like
Yeah.
it's just so good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I've been like, I don't know, I listened to Decals a bunch, and I listened to all of them, even Blue Jeans and Moonbeams. Are you like on some vibe of like they're all amazing?
I wish I was,
Like,
but no. I have
I'm
a very
not either.
normally take those two like what tragic band quote unquote albums. They are in fact bad. I don't like them.
Yeah. Same. Moonbeams. I can't really fuck with. I don't know. I get some of those mixed up. I get Strictly Personal a little bit mixed up with Clear Spot, actually. Although Clear Spot's not bad. It's just not.
No, Clear Spot's amazing. That record's really grown on me over like the past year or so.
Yeah.
That's like a really good record.
Yeah, it's almost like Trout. It's a weird arc. It's such a cool arc, right? Because it's like you've got starting out Safe as Milk, okay, then it's like super weird, like revolutionary Trout Mask. Mm-hmm. Then what we're gonna go deep on all of this, obviously, right? But like, but like Decals, right? It's like dialed back a little bit more normal, but still...
like that's the first step apparently of like Beefheart trying to do like a pop record. Which, if you've listened to the record, that's a hilarious sentence to just say, because like it's so not in so many ways.
Yeah. No, I mean that's what I've said this before, man. Like when super legitimately weird artists like try to be normal, it just gets even weirder because it's like they're like repressing the avant-gardeness, and it just compresses it into this diamond of like just shining like it's even more, you know. Fucking and then I guess Clear Spot, he tries to dial
Spotlight Kid right after that, which actually might be like, in terms of like the records I like, might be his most conventional record. Which isn't a diss on it, because I think that's a good record as well. But I don't know. Clear Spot, which I think is normally like the go-to, like, that's him, like sort of like really sort of making commercial record thing. That to me seems like a weirder record than Spotlight Kid, honestly. And it retains something of like the angularity of like the Trout Mask and Decals era that like Spotlight Kid really doesn't. Like Spotlight Kid seems much more bluesy, like more so than like the really early records.
I get Spotlight Kid confused. Wait, Spotlight Kid is after Clear Spot, or no? That's like
it's the one right before Clear Spot.
Okay, right. It's between Decals and Clear Spot.
Yeah.
So Lick My Decals Off is 70, right? Okay, right. Spotlight Kid 71, 72 is Clear Spot.
Yeah.
And then we just get into some bullshit. Yeah. I want to like Blue Jeans and Moonbeams though, because I just, it's fun to have the contrarian take, obviously,
But I can't do it as much as I want to too. I can't.
There's no hooks.
Although I think I know some people on Twitter who do stand by that record, but that's not me.
You can't. This is a thing with like normal music, rock music, right? Like you do need hooks. I mean, you need to be able to write like a hook, which he kind of can, but he's not doing it on.
Yeah, no, Blue Jeans definitely doesn't have the hooks. And like when on the like records like right before Blue Jeans, I think he demonstrates that he can write like when he wants to, like a slightly weird but more or less conventional pop hook. But like even on like Trout Mask, like a friend of mine has said like on multiple occasions, like once you like really like click with that album, it's the catchiest album that's ever been produced. Because there's
Trout
and
Mask?
every like individual part on like Trout Mask, or even on Decals to a certain extent, is like its own like standalone sort of hook. But it's just hyper condensed into like this weird modernist fucking composition,
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. There's one of the large numbers, the large number of issues that I want to talk about. I mean, just process, like for him as a composer, we're talking about him, quote unquote, writing hooks.
Well, I guess
what was really
to a
going
certain
on,
extent,
you know?
he wrote them, but like the arrangement, I think, is more of where things get contentious. Because he definitely didn't arrange them. He was sort of just like improvising on a piano, like during Trout Mask and Decals, and then like having like one of the band members just like either tape record or like write down sheet music.
Right,
like whatever random shit he was playing, and then like he'd throw it at them and just be like, all right, here's a bunch of these, just put them together.
See, yeah, this is the thing, man. Like I mean, the line between composition and arrangement, I mean, these terms, you know, when I think of arrangement, I mean, I'm on some anal, like normal musician vibe, where to me, composition means you write the melody, chord progression, you've got like a beat in mind and some stuff. Right. And then the arranger maybe throws like some, you know, decides what, you know, background stuff is going to happen, and like slight tweaks to the rhythm section. You know, it to me, like, this almost sounds like I'm taking something away from Beefheart. Maybe I actually am. I don't know. But to be like,
no, I would say to a certain extent you maybe should, but like at the same time you could do like the counter argument is like, oh, by composing this way, he's like adding this like weird element of like chance that's sort of like on some John Cage tip or something.
I know, yes.
It's probably in the back of Beefheart's head, but at the same time, part of me feels like, I think it might have just been like his inability to actually do that. He needed someone who was more conventionally, like musically gifted to actually put it together.
Yeah, no, totally. Like that's the thing. It's like if you're, yeah, like to me, it's not composition to be like, okay, go ba 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 ba, and like do this thing on the, you know, like to just like verbally like say some random shit. It's not random actually at all, but to say these little weird things and then have someone figure it out on guitar. It's like, to me, that's like, okay, that's almost 50-50 collaboration, I guess.
Right.
You know,
but I guess the point I'm trying to make, composition is maybe the wrong word, but like he is the one like generating the original like melodic or like chordal material that then gets like smashed together by someone else. That's all I'm trying to say.
Right. I guess, yeah, because it's not just ba 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 ba. I mean, yeah, he plays the stuff on the piano, whether it's composed or improvised or a little of both. Yeah, totally. And also, you could totally make the argument of, yeah, like not only is that indeterminacy, like you could be like, oh, that's a John Cage, you know, little window of chance that is leaving. It's also like just picking. There's that composer vibe of like who you assemble and and the situation that you create. You know, it's like Miles Davis, like electric shit. He just would put those people together and just play like one like cluster on the like Farfisa and be like, that's the vibe, motherfucker.
That's the vibe. You guys flesh this out, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, it's, you know, and he's doing even less than Beefheart, but it's his music because he made the situation, you know. But yeah. I mean, like, yeah, Beefheart is like, that material, like, so much of that has got to be improvised. Even before I read or knew that it was improvised, there's a fluidity, you know, to those lines that I don't know if they have to be improvised, but it's like, it really does sound like
well, when you say like it has to be improvised, do you mean like in the actual like performances that are like on record, or do you just mean like how like the melody lines were like generated?
No, I just mean generated. I mean, it just like sounds like the kind of thing that you would write by
just like nothing around,
just sitting down at an instrument. And the thing is, see, some of these things, again, I'm using language that sounds like I'm like taking something away from Beefheart, but this is like what is profound about him.
No,
like,
for sure.
Like noodling. It's like noodly. Like exactly. It's not like some. Not only does it sound improvised, but it's not even like hyper like reined in. It's not like cautious.
No, it's like this weird, like untutored, just like free for all sort of melody lines or like chords or whatever, which is the exact opposite of like Zappa, which I know is something you sort of wanted to get into, where he very much is of like the more conventional like composer mindset, which, you know, has its benefits, but like Zappa just in no way has that same vibe that like Beefheart has.
It
like,
is so different. It's so interesting to me. I've been talking about this on all these videos, but I just like harping on this point that's like not even that intense or complicated, but they're just artists that come in pairs, man, or bands
Yeah.
that come in pairs. Like it's like you really, it's rare that someone likes them equally. Like most people have some opinion on like why, they're a Beefheart person versus a Zappa person,
Yeah.
I used to I thought Zappa was the total cringe up until like recent years, whereas Beefheart, the second I heard it, I was like, this is everything,
Yeah.
for various reasons. I don't know, like you could talk
Yeah.
about.
Oh, I mean, you can talk about. I mean, it's your show, obviously.
No,
so if you want to, you can.
Yeah, but you're
I'm sort of curious. Like, how did you actually get into like Beefheart? Like, what was your access point?
Beefheart, I think it would have been my friend Kim, who was the drummer. I played my first public gig on guitar with Kim, doing like Fugazi covers.
Okay.
And yeah, she was just really into prog, like a real dyed in the wool prog nerd, not just like, and that's the thing. It's like Beefheart appeals to prog cats, but he's got all this edge and all this stuff that makes him like not dorky, but Kim was like straight up like Dream Theater, like all that shit. So, yeah, it was put to me in the sense of like, oh, check out how like complex this is, like how do they even play it? But yeah, it came at a time I was never into clean prog, like Yes, Rush. I never was into any of that shit. But Beefheart, to me, I was in the process of, I was really into free jazz. I was getting into like Anthony Braxton and that kind of stuff where it overlaps into composition, and I was getting into like Stockhausen and all that kind of shit. So it was just like part of that. Okay. Like it wasn't even rock music. It was like, this is like new music.
Right. Which is something that Beefheart would have loved to hear, that like that's like the context in what you're getting into. I mean, and not like it's some like weirdo rock guy necessarily.
Yeah, I think well, because for me, like the shit that makes something like quote unquote experimental music versus rock music, it's really not about the sound as much as like the type of attention that it demands or commands or evokes, and it's like that Beefheart, at least like My Decals Off and Trout Mask, especially Trout Mask, like when I hear that, I mean, I'm not listening to it the same way I'm listening to like Morton Feldman or Stockhausen. I mean, let's be fair, but it's like because of the form, like we were saying, it's like just because of this sort of smashed together, the modernism of it. Like I'm here, my attention span is in that mode. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. I'm also sort of curious, like when you first heard like Trout Mask or like Decals, like did you were you able to like immediately like parse what you were even listening to, or like
no?
How many lessons did it take for you to get into it?
No, yeah, I mean, well, I immediately loved it, but as far as parsing, I mean, even hearing the parts as individual parts, I mean, I could pick stuff out if I tried, but I mean, it was more hitting me like a barrage.
Right.
Yeah. And also like harmonically, there's so much, I don't know. There's like, I mean, it's not entirely dissonant. A lot of it is bluesy. A lot of it is major, sounding stuff, but it's juxtaposed with the same sort of thing, but in an entirely different key. That's exactly what's happening. Weird. Yes. Yeah.
The like whole polytonal thing really throws you for a loop the first time. And I don't know, for me, when I first heard it, I thought I was just listening to like the audio equivalent of like the sort of like Tasmanian devil sort of like dust spin animated thing. Like it just seemed like that, which I loved it and I had a blast listening to it, but I had no idea what just hit me. Like I just did not know what that was.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, it's easier for me to hear the just having been so into free jazz already, and like just Ornette Coleman, because it's like with his version of, or his innovation of basic free jazz. I mean, his version, like the harmolodic. Mm-hmm. He talks about harmolodics, right? So it's like it is kind of that vibe of not fussily organized polytonality, but the vibe of like I might be in a major key and the bass player might be in another major key, like that ends up happening. So yeah, like I was ready for it harmonically, but just on the level, just like rhythmically, the way the shit's interacting, man, just on a counterpoint level, just how the two guitars are interacting, especially with the drums. Like, that shit is like, I mean, John French is,
he's one of the greatest rock drummers, or really
ever.
drummers, period. No, he's great.
Yeah.
Actually, real quick, I'm sort of curious what your take on this, because the same friend that I mentioned earlier, he and I got into an argument about this. Who would you say is a better drummer, John French or Charles Hayward from This Heat?
Oh man. The only This Heat record, no, I know Deceit and Made Available. They're so sick. It's funny. I got into This Heat just right after. Man, you ever like no, but like you ever like get blown away by something and you're like, okay, this is in my life now. This is some of my favorite shit. I'm checking it all out. And then you just don't, for like no apparent reason. You just don't follow up on that. I have things like that with authors. And then I look back, I'm like, why did I not have a whole This Heat phase? Because like, yeah, Deceit is amazing and like Made Available. But yeah, so Charles Hayward versus John French. I mean, that's hard to say, man, because Charles Hayward is like, I mean, as unique as he is, he doesn't have that. He doesn't sound like a weird guy playing. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't.
No,
have
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I guess my point of contention with my buddy was that and this is probably partly because of like the way Beefheart sort of forced French to play, but like I think like there's a very like intentional from Beefheart's sort of insistent sort of mechanical and like in terms of like the actual like attack of the notes, like on like subtle or like undynamic thing in most of the music that I think that Hayward has a lot of. It's very like predicated on like subtle and like minute changes and everything.
That's a very cool point. Because yeah, that's totally what I know of Charles Hayward's drumming is totally way more dynamic. I mean, it sounds more like this is a great drummer. You know, I haven't I didn't actually know that Beefheart insisted that John French play with more mechanical like flattened dynamics. Was that part of I've told that to so many drummers. It's like
it wasn't that direct, but I guess like the best anecdotes to sort of like bring this up or to like clarify this is I guess on Safe as Milk, like he had French play with like cardboard cutouts on like the drums, like on the drum heads. And like you can really hear this on something like Yellow Brick Road on Safe as Milk, where it gives us a very weird timbre, but like he talks about it in like the book, just like, I felt like this completely like messed with like the way I play and like I felt like I had like fucking like handcuffs on or something, like completely. No, that's sick. That's really sick. Yeah, and see, this gets into that thing of like, right, like the extent to which you can use the word composer, like that is composition. Like that kind of a choice is actually a very considered, you know, dialed in, like knowing about music kind of thing to ask. You know, it's like that whole thing of throwing a monkey wrench in people's virtuosity. It's so sick. It's such a sick thing. But the one time when I never do that as a band leader or a composer. It's like completely the opposite of how I work. I just want people to like just do what they do best. And the times that I've been on the receiving end of that, I'm like, I respect this, but I fucking hate this so much. Like I can imagine. I was just like, briefly when I played in Dirty Projectors, like Longstreth was just like, like, what if you played lefty? I was like, bro, like my respect for you is so great, and I respect that you're asking me to do this, but like absolutely not at all. Like it's like I hate shit like that. But it's funny you said cardboard cutouts. He's got that song Cardboard Cutout Sundown, Beefheart. Do you know that track on what album is that on?
That's on Ice Cream for Crow, which actually is my favorite. But Cardboard Cutout Sundown, you hardly know a day goes by in the cardboard cutout sundown. It's like one of the weirdest lyrics, but I don't know. Like,
his shit. I know I've listened to that record, but I think I've only listened to it all the way through like once. I think I need to revisit that one.
The last two are my favorite: Dock at the Radar Station and and Ice Cream for Crow. Well, is it though? Because I said decals for this for this stream. There's something about decals that makes me want to say it's my favorite sometimes, but I think ultimately I come back to Ice Cream for Crow. But like, wait, how did you get into Beefheart? What's your origin story?
So I got into Beefheart like through not even really being into Zappa, but like in like trying to get into Zappa. Like I would watch like all of, like the interviews and like shit I could find on YouTube about Zappa, just trying to like figure out like what this guy's vibe was and if like it was worth me like really investigating. And like I kept seeing like passing mention of Beefheart, and at like some point I found like this BBC documentary that's sort of narrated by like John Peel about Beefheart, and I just watched that, and it just like, okay, well this sounds insane. And then like
Yeah.
I think at that point like all of and this would have been like around 2013, like all of Trout Mask Replica, just like track by track, was just on YouTube. And I didn't have a streaming service at that point for whatever reason. So I just like listened to it song by song individually through that. And I would just like not knowing what to make of it, but just being like, I love the vibe here. And like, I just kept going back to it. And like my whole like freshman year of college, I was just listening to that and like Coil and like Captain Beefheart.
That's such a funny. Is that a weird comedy? Probably not. I bet you like I bet you Douglas P and I Coil and shit. I'm sure they give it up to Beefheart, right?
I don't know about Douglas, but I know like Coil did for sure. Because like during like the live phase, they stole that line, "God, please fuck my mind for good," from
from
Vampire with a Monkey on My Knee.
Yeah, making love to a vampire with it. Fucking yeah. It's so, man, what a vibe being in college and just getting your mind blown.
Yeah.
By stuff. I mean, I still get my mind blown semi-regularly, but it's just not the same. It's just not.
No. At this point, like I just have too much context for everything. Just like, oh well, I mean, it just like you can see I know enough now to like see the connections to everything else. Where like back then I was just like, I have no idea how this relates to anything else, and this just seems insane to me.
Yeah. No, totally. It's like really getting your mind blown by music. It's almost like it's like the opposite of trauma or something. Everyone talks about trauma now, it's like, it's like the reverse. Like it's just like scarred, but like for good. And you can't.
Just like, sort of like this beautiful sort of like rupture that goes on in your brain. Like someone taking like a really like, it's like an ice pick to your head, but like in the most like poetic and beautiful sort of way.
Yeah, like I can't go back. I'm gonna be processing what I just heard for the rest of my fucking life. Yeah, it's so sick. But you were like you were getting into, because this girl Kim who got me into Beefheart through the prog angle was also pushing Zappa at the same time, and Zappa really did not stick. I think I'm like about to have like finally have the Zappa phase now.
Okay.
But like at the time I was like, this is goofy, Beefheart's not. This is silly and happy. Beefheart is like dark and legitimately funny. You know, Beefheart is punk, Zappa is music school nerd shit, which now I like, but at the time I was like in denial of like who I am and like trying to be like, you know what I mean? It's trying to be like, I like it raw, dude. It's just like really like Stockhausen and jazz. Is that really raw, bro? But whatever. Yeah. Like not being a prog nerd is prog shame, man. Prog shame is so real.
I can't really comment on that because I'm very much the one dishing out the prog shame. I'm not a prog guy. Like,
you're not a prog guy. Yeah. I mean, I use that word in all kinds of different ways, because I mean, Beefheart, prog people like Beefheart. I mean, not even prog, but just people who are into, maybe I shouldn't say prog, but there's a certain type of like vibe. There's a certain type of person or type of way of liking music where people are just really into hyper complicated instrumental stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That might be amazing or might not be amazing. But they appreciate
like the technical angle regardless.
They
have this sort of weird like egalitarianism taste, as long as it's like fucking expert tier like skill level in execution or whatever.
Which I mean, I have that a little in the sense of, well, I don't like wanky. I do not like wanky virtuosity, but I
you don't like Malmsteen? Right.
I don't. He really is not good. He's not a good guitar player. He's like actually bad. But I like but I am enough of a technical music nerd that I can appreciate music. I can appreciate music that I don't like spiritually or emotionally for craft, not for a million notes and speed, but there are like big indie artists that I don't need to, backhandedly praise
Right.
specifically on the air, but people where I'm like, I kind of hate this as art, but it's the craft. The craft. I'm getting nourished by hearing, these killer string arrangements or this,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah. But yeah, Beefheart is, but see, right. Okay. So this is the thing, right? With Zappa, right? Like to me, that was like, this is music nerd shit, not the raw emotional shit. Did you feel that way about Zappa or?
I think there's like a little bit of that. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't have articulated it that way because like there was Zappa stuff that I like. I also like a little bit after getting into like Trout Mask. I sort of got into Uncle Meat by Zappa, which is very. I mean, it has elements of that, but like it's also got like this weird sort of like music concrete tape manipulation thing going on that gives it a very different vibe. So
totally.
I don't know. But I definitely saw like the music nerd thing, but like the most distasteful thing to me at the time about like Zappa with like a lot of his other stuff was more that it just seemed like normal like classic rock to me, and that was sort of the most offensive part. Like that, it just seemed boring, honestly.
Yeah. Well, some of it kind of is, I guess.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's
awesome.
overly painting with too broad a brush, but there is definitely stuff in his body of work that I think is that's an accurate description of, I guess. And I think I overgeneralized at the time what was going on with his work, I guess.
Yeah, man. Because just taken as a whole. Oh wait, you're kind of a little bit frozen there.
What about now?
Now you're back a little bit. I want to say a little something here. I'm getting all this sort of broken up. You look really cool actually in the frozen thing. Your hands are moving slow. And you're looking cool, man. I can't hear you. I can't fucking hear you.
I love to be looking cool if you can hear me.
There you are. Yeah. There you are. Yeah.
Okay,
now you're back. Yeah. Zappa having classic rock. Yeah. I mean, I sort of didn't like that. I love that you mentioned Uncle Meat though, because that actually was, even when I didn't like Zappa for years, that was the one, and Lumpy Gravy were the ones where I was like, okay, I can get down because it does have the sort of new music, kind of music concrete, the, highbrow, like whatever. But it's like now, like, well, the thing that I hated about Zappa was I just didn't think it was funny. And I was like, so much of this is about the humor. And I'm like, this is like pee-pee poo-poo. Like, I don't like stuff for like little kids. Like, why is this funny? Now I think it's funny, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I actually kind of think, I mean, just because of the like, here's what it's like, right? Like when I was younger, like something, this is so cringe, man. But I wouldn't have used this word even at the time, but something being like punk meant something to me. It's hard to say what that is, but like a certain rawness, a certain lack of self-consciousness, a sexiness, that I was like, Beefheart has this and Zappa absolutely does not.
Right. And I think I would have agreed with that when I was getting into this stuff, like around the same time, like in middle school and high school, when I was like really into like the whole punk rock thing. I think I again, wouldn't have articulated it that way, but like I very much was on the same tip.
Yeah. And it was the same time where it was like, I was into metal and death metal and stuff in high school. Then in college, I was sort of like more into like more punky hardcore stuff. So I was like, okay, like I'm still into metal, but like if it's too slick, that's not cool. It can't be too slick. It can't be too nerdy. Like, so yeah, like, but see nowadays I see Zappa as I see the punkness. Using punk as a thing to mean something good. It's beyond cringe because I actually like hate almost everything that word means as a grown up. But and it means nothing anymore.
Yeah,
especially to younger kids. I don't know what word to use, but the Zappa vibe, to have music that's that perfectly wrought and virtuosic in a traditional way, and then to just be singing
with the
about
being
like
just utterly lowbrow.
That actually is sick. Like that's really sick, man, because it's just like, especially from like a jazz point of view, to be like just ripping on the level of like any jazz musician, and then your shit is just about like cottage cheese and like farts and shit. Like it's kind of sick. Like it's like ruining your shit. Like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. On this same sort of tip, are you familiar with Alex Cameron at all?
No, Alex who? Alex Cam?
Alex Cameron. He's like this sort of like Australian sort of like indie pop guy. But like a couple years ago, he put out this record, Forced Witness, which is a phenomenal record. And it's like the music of it isn't like super technical or anything, but it's like a extremely well executed like sort of 80s pop / sort of like Springsteen record. But like the lyrics are all just like Come Town bits essentially. But the music is just sort of like this really well crafted and like genuinely beautiful and like moving like pop music. And I think in a different way that has the sort of same element. Really that finely crafted thing with just like the most like bass sort of lyrics.
That sounds like something I would be into. I'm gonna check that out, Alex Cameron.
You should. I think you'd be into it.
Yeah. It's just like shitting on your stuff. Like it's like just such a Chad move, like to just be like, I can ruin this, and it's like still deeper than your like self-serious, you know, vibe and stuff. I've done that like a little bit with my old band Extra Life. There would definitely be things where I'd be like, this, it's like the whole vibe of it in general was like, this is the most highbrow, like, you know, wrought composer shit. But then certain lines where it would be deliberately like, dude, why did you have to, like, dude, like, you're fucking ruining your shit. You know, there's something about ruining it that I relate to. But it's like, I don't know. See, well, that's another thing, man, is like Beefheart, right? Like, here's a question. Is he an outsider artist? Also kind of a whack, cringy term, but does mean something to me, even though it's stupid in certain ways. Do you think people view him as an outside? I feel like there is a little bit of a, you know, the mythology of it, you know, of him.
Right. In terms of like whether or not people see him that way, I think there's definitely like there are some people who I think would see him as like just an outsider artist who's just like, oh yeah, he's just like a weird guy making like incomprehensible music or something.
Yeah.
Who would sort of see him on the same level as like a Wildman Fisher, to go to another like Zappa sort of related example.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he has too much knowledge of like art history and like music, even if he doesn't like have like any of like the technical skill. I think he's too well informed and like knows what he's doing to too much of an extent. And however much of that may have been like sort of posturing on his end, I guess it's still like the fact that he knows who John Cage is, I think makes it impossible to like genuinely call him an artist, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I never really use that word one way or the other for people, but I think up until researching for this podcast or whatever the fuck this is, live stream, up until that, I think I had more of a sense of him as being more naive or unself-conscious. But then like checking him out, it's like, oh, okay, right. Like well, you know, because you know what it is? It's like his compositional process is like that of an outsider artist, but he is
but he has too much other knowledge like informing it. Like it might not even be like musical knowledge, but you have to like understand like when he was growing up, like he was like a really talented like visual artist and like was sculpting all the time and like had the opportunity to like go to like a European art school, but like his parents shut that down because that was like fag shit.
It's terrible. It's so sad. Man.
But I mean, we got fucking Decals out of it though, right? But like this is someone who knows like what Dadaism is, and like during the making of Trout Mask, it's like sitting the band down and reading Dolly's Diary of a Genius to that.
Right. Oh right, yeah. Dolly's car. He was all into Dolly. Yeah.
So he has like this weird conceptual like apparatus of what he's doing, even if it is maybe sort of a nebulous one that just I don't know. Again, it precludes any like genuine sort of like outsider status, I think.
This is the thing. There's outsider in the sense of like not, you know, someone not knowing what the hell they're doing, or they're straight up mentally ill or whatever. Like that's like, you know, when you're okay, that's obviously people call him an outsider artist. So he's obviously not that, but something that is, no one calls this outsider artist, but on the level of like something being sexy and not nerdy, something being sexy and not music nerd shit, having an art background, a visual art background is like that. To me, you know, that's kind of like part of you know what I mean? Like it kind of gives you this like hip angle on shit. Whereas like Zappa, it was like trained, you know, he was like trained in writing like orchestral music when he was like 20, you know, so it's like he's really not coming from that sort of you know, coming to music from outside of the discipline or whatever. Yeah, it gives it a whole other sense, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
sorry, I'm being a little bit quiet because I lost you for like a little bit, and I'm not sure how much I missed out of what you were saying.
I was saying kids who go to art school and then start bands, they get laid more than kids who go to music school and then start bands. This is, we know this. I mean, this is like, you know,
this is
across the board.
Everybody knows, to quote Leonard Cohen. It's clear as day that's what happens.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, like, I wonder if like Decals, it's funny. It's like now that we're like talking about it, I'm like, is Decals even my favorite? It's definitely the one I listened to a billion times before this podcast. But it's like, is Decals your favorite? You were psyched when I mentioned it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Because Decals and Trout Mask are the two that like unquestionably I like go back and forth between. Yeah. I think over like the past 2 years, I've gravitated more towards Trout Mask, but before that, like I unreservedly would have said Decals. But like both of them are like incredible records to me. So yeah.
I mean, I just like, I don't know, man, it's like lyrically too. It's like that is, I take his lyrics pretty, see, that's another thing, man. It's like, you know, Zappa, I've never heard any lyrics of his where I'm like, that's like poignant or elegant or like hitting me hard. No. It's always like, you know, duty jokes and stuff. And then, which now is growing on me a little, but it's still, you know, like Beefheart has lyrics to me that are like emotional. I mean, you know, they're like, there's
no, for sure. And I heard like, and it's not poetry, but like are genuinely artful and poetic. And like, there are many roads through like interpreting his work on like a lyrical and I guess musical, but like, since we're talking about lyrics on a lyrical level, like everything is like this, every facet of it is sort of like this multi-dimensional thing that you can look at from like several different angles and like it, I don't know, you get what I'm saying.
No, totally, man. And I mean the humor that's in it does actually like crack me up. Yeah, like, you know, because it's not really like in every line, but like the funniest shit to me, and this to me is like comes back to Cool Keith, who I talked with Nick Dollinger. Oh, we got Nick Dollinger in the chat, by the way, which is cool. We got a bunch of people in the chat. This is cool. Nick says, yeah, Nick's talking about how pretty girls don't poop. We talk about poop a lot, me and Nick. But what was I gonna say? Like the funniest shit, like it comes back with Cool Keith and a lot of people is just like when it's like half deliberately funny and half accidentally funny, like it's just both at the same time, or like you don't know, like you know that it's supposed to be funny, but you're not sure if you're you're laughing at the part that's supposed to be funny, but you don't know why you're laughing at it in terms of like, are you laughing with or at it? Exactly. Exactly. Like, I mean, not that I would ever laugh at a genius in general, but yeah, like just certain lines, I'm like, yeah, like the level of with or at is like that shit. Re-listening to this, man, that song with the like, you know, what this world needs is a good $2 broom, a good $2 room. You know, it's like so was that the Broadway Boogie Woogie or what the something Boogie Woogie? It's a something Boogie Woogie. Yeah. I know what song you're talking about. Yeah. That shit, it's like to say like a good $2 room and then broom, it sounds like he just picked two things randomly that rhyme, but then you sit with it, it's like, oh, that makes a certain amount of sense, like the more you sit on it. But like at first hearing it, just like this is just like some data. Like you would have to like sweep or whatever. And then but the thing that was killing me this time is the continuous broom sound going throughout the whole thing is like it just makes it sound so like confident, you know. It's like taking this thing that should be some like broom like surreal whatever random you know, like taking that and being like, no, like a $2 broom. Like it's just like there's this broom sound going the whole time. Something about that just is like, it's like doubling down on broom. Like it's just so fucking silly. Like, I don't know. I like it. It's amazing.
But then also being willing to like, I essentially sort of like paint with like the sounds of it to like illustrate.
Oh, you're breaking up and you're clearly about to say something deep too.
Oh,
whatever you're saying, remember it and say it.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But like the way that he, in that, and also you sort of see this in like the middle sort of like, I guess, breakdown section of Bellerin Plain, where like it starts like the sound starts becoming like illustrative and like actually like it becomes like a painting thing, and like it's like directly like evoking some sort of like sample in like a weird way. I've talked a lot about like this with like Xylem, but like it's sort of like a proto sample in terms of like it's trying to like directly imitate like a sound or something.
Yeah. You broke up a little bit on talking about Bellerin Plain. That's a great song. I forget though. What's the thing in the lyrics that you're saying is being like programmatically like fortified by the sounds?
Well, like the whole thing's about like this sort of like train that's sort of like going off the tracks, and like it's in the middle of it, like you get this like musical like representation of that essentially.
Yes.
And also the whole like rhythm of it, like throughout most of the song, is like this very insistent like sort of train rhythm that I don't know. I just it sounds like a very dumb thing when you say it out loud, but like stuff like that is always like very fascinating.
No, dude, this is an even dumber version of that. But I totally thought about it before you even mentioned it. Was that like all of that marimba? There's so like he has marimba and other stuff, but there's so much marimba all over this this record. It's like almost like
I think this is the first time he actually busts out the marimba. He gets oh fuck, I'm forgetting what his name is, but he had been in the Mothers like before this, and like like had done like first performances of like John Cage pieces when he was like in Cincinnati.
Full on contemporary music guy. But like they're like there's so much. The marimba is almost like an integral part of the band in this, and it's like for some reason it makes me think of like the dinosaur bones that he keeps talking about. Like it's so silly, but I just picture this like xylophone of like
it's like
dinosaur bones,
like the fucking Flintstones, and like it adds the humor of it, and actually, another thing I've been. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
I didn't even think about that. It is the Flintstones. That's specifically where I'm getting this from. That's so American, dude. That's the thing. It's just like Flintstones is like Americana to the core. But what did I interrupt you? You were saying something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that this listen through, I was also thinking about the marimbas, but in like a different context. And I think you like see this crop up a little bit like on I think like Tropical Hot Dog Night also has marimbas on it, right?
Oh
like,
yeah. Throughout the whole thing.
But and that sort of solidifies this point even more, because I think it very much more directly has this sort of vibe. But like it's registered to me, this listen is like an Exotica thing, which for some reason hadn't crossed my mind before. But I think he is sort of intentionally playing with that song.
Yeah, nor mine actually. I hadn't really thought of that. Yeah, Exotica. Yeah, like which is definitely a realm of music that I don't really have any.
You should get in. You should get into Exotica. Exotica is very hip, man. That stuff is really fucking good.
It always seemed like the kind of thing I would really dislike. I mean, if we're talking about, I don't know, a certain kind of irony or something.
It's not an ironic thing.
Kitsch.
Then you have to realize that people misunderstand Exotica as kitsch, and there is like a kitsch element to it, but there's so much more to like the Exotica thing to think about. I guess. And I refuse to explain this because we're talking about Beefheart and not Sun Ra, but like the thing I will say to like sort of for you to just mull over is like all of Sun Ra is just Exotica.
I could see that sort of. I mean, you mean for Egypt or
well, for Egypt, but also like and I think you see this on Decals to a certain extent too, for Space as well, where like the whole point of Exotica is it's supposed to be evocative of this.
You're breaking up, bro.
Sort of like this dream world, and like when you think of like Exotica as like a specific genre term. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean,
am I there?
Yeah, you're there. You're going in and out, but you're talking about Exotica as a not as a specific style, but as the sense of exploring a dream world of some kind. Is that kind of?
yeah, it's exploring a dream world, and like as a genre term, it's like it has very specific connotations of like what that dream world is, but like it's applied by like a bunch of different artists going forward, including Sun Ra, Beefheart, and then further like Throbbing Gristle, and I think very explicitly, especially in like the '90s era, Coil as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. This is something I've been thinking about for months. But like when I re-listened to this, like the Beefheart connection, sort of, I don't know. I've just been mulling that over, and it's been fascinating.
and in your conception of him as an exotica guy, like you said, did you say space, or no, you said for Sun Ra it's space?
I would say for Beefheart on Decals specifically, it's about space as well, because I think this is why you get sort of the Flintstones vibe and like Smithsonian Institute blues, because he's trying to say like if you don't change your ways, like you're going to end up like the dinosaurs, and we have to leave this old way of being behind. And like, and this goes into like Space Age Couple and Flash Gordon's Ape towards the end of the album.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's very conscious about what he's talking about. I mean, there's a real earnest, this kind of ecological concern. I mean, it's very, it's very sincere, and, sort of, he loves animals. I mean, it's like I noticed it back in the day, but it just never really, I didn't care about that aspect of it, it's just, but it's, it's deep, the stuff about oil and shit too. I mean, just, or like, no, he's talking about like tar pits, and it's like, I mean, tar is not oil, but whatever. Like this stuff of like, doesn't he have stuff about like fossil fuels and shit in there or something? I don't know. He has like,
I think I vaguely remember that at some point, but I can't remember like what the line is, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, but there's stuff like, I don't know. Yeah, actually, maybe I could like bring up my Beefheart notes page. Or maybe we don't have to be so,
your show, your call. I'm
organized about it. Oh, by the way, I would say anyone, I would like someone drop a comment just so I know that the thing is still going, because it's because there hasn't been just say like testing or what's up or just something. But all this like like well, actually, let me look at some of these notes here, what I was thinking of. I mean, I guess like there's actually sort of his stuff is always like hypersexual. I mean, and maybe there's less of that on this record than I
would disagree about that. I would disagree.
I mean, it starts off with like totally, it's just like totally sexual.
But then Space Age Couple with the line, Space Age Couple, why don't you flex your magic muscle?
Flex your magic
muscle. Which obviously, it doesn't necessarily specifically mean that, but I've been thinking about that and like, oh, that could also just mean like that sort of thing as well. But yeah.
I mean, there's like, I think it's Petrified Forest is the one where it's saying some shit about like oil and energy and stuff. That might be actually my favorite.
That one, I think we were talking about this like in chat, like before the last attempt to do this, but like that track also stuck out to me this listen. Like that, especially like the ending musically of that, where like the bass, they're not arpeggios, but they almost sound like arpeggios the way they're played.
Yeah.
That bass melody just sounds beautiful to me.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. And that, you're breaking up now, but just on the like when you were talking about specific like tiny little hooks that don't come off as hooks, but that are just these weird little things that he improvised, like that thing, like don't. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like so noodly.
That's
like,
absolutely one of them.
Like that's just some shit you would just, if you're just like stoned, just fucking around in your freshman dorm room with a guitar, you would just play that and people would be like, haha, but it's like in the context, there's like all this hyper modernist shit. And then it like lands on him saying Petrified Forest, the titular line, and like that hook. It's like, it's really like formally like, see, that's some shit about Beefheart that I was really into when I was getting into all this like composer stuff, is like, is form, like that's kind of, to me, the difference in that, contemporary music composer attention versus the rock attention. When you listen to rock music, you're listening to the parts, but you're not listening to form. Like, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a verse and a chorus and maybe a breakdown. Right. Whereas like with this shit, you do not know what's going to happen or how long it's going to go for. So you're like dealing with time and events and memory and like finding yourself, you know.
Which is it. Well, that's an interesting difference between this and like Trout Mask, because I feel like once you get like a handle on Trout Mask, structurally that's a lot more normal than like a lot of the stuff on Decals. Because like Beller and Plain is not a verse chorus structure. Like,
oh yeah, Beller and Plain is bonkers, man. Yeah.
And same with Dr. Dark. Really, the title track sort of has that, but like it's so weird in so many other ways.
Yeah. The sudden tempo changes is like. That's something I just never do in my music at all, but I love it. Like just when I hear it, it's just such a crazy. Actually, I was into like I like that about hardcore. Actually, like just like suddenly hitting a new tempo. Beefheart is on that shit, man. It's so sick. What was I went on a little tangent about form while you were breaking up.
I was able to hear you.
So, you were but what were you saying though that we missed?
Oh shit! How much did you miss? I didn't realize that I cut out, so I don't know how much I.
So maybe you were just listening. Yeah, it's all good. I don't know. See, I'm trying. Yeah, this is broadcasting chops, baby. Just riding the tiger, man.
Yep.
But those guitar. See, you know what I love? I love that there's a genre like within Beefheart, like the guitar solo piece. Compositions for solo guitar, you've got like two of them on this. They're just like so sick, one Red Rose, and I mean,
that is such a beautiful song. I love that.
Oh man, it's fucking gorgeous, dude. And that's like that something interesting to me about that a little bit. It's a nerdy detail, but I think it actually registers on an artistic level is like his stuff. So like, so we were talking about how dissonant it is, but then there's also blues elements and there's the polytonal thing, but it does come back to the blues like so much, except in those solo guitar pieces. They're like they're notably like not bluesy. Like they become
like not at all,
right? It becomes more like major and pretty and some of that's kind of wistful and I've got my whole early music obsession. Like there's, there
are definitely elements of that in those pieces.
You know what I'm saying? It's like in Peon. I think it's in that track Peon, where it's like there's almost this like processional vibe. Like there's moments that if it weren't on guitar, if it was like horns, it would be like bum bum bum. It's I don't know. I find that interesting. Just that he has got like a slightly different. See, that makes me think that the band is doing some work on these compositions, man, because
they absolutely did.
Like you know what I'm saying? Because it's like if he's sitting down at the piano and playing that like processional major key fanfare type shit, and it's like, does that mean that maybe on the full band tunes that bluesiness is coming from the guitar players or something, because that's what you do on guitar? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say from piece to piece, but I know from like reading the book that like even on some like the full band pieces, there would be like sections where like whoever was doing like the stitching together of parts would just be like, this, we're going to just move this down like a couple keys just to make this a little bit easier, like smooth out a note here or there. So there's a lot of like rounding off of edges to make it a little bit easier to like handle, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go back and listen to Trout Mask because I like just in preparation for this, I kind of just like skipped through the tracks and kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, right. That one. Oh yeah. When Big Joan sets up. Right. But like, I didn't actually like sit and deal with it as a whole art experience. So I have to, what you were saying, I'm going to have to recheck that, see how I respond to when you were saying that like, that actually Trout Mask formally is actually a little simpler in way, right?
That's always been the vibe I've gotten from like what I've been able to like rock, I guess. But I feel like now that I've said that and you listen back to it, you're just gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? What? No, I'm sure from my memory from the last time I listened to it, that's the impression.
I'm sure there's something to what you're saying. I mean, the way I'm like remembering it, like I remember Trout Mask as being way more of like an assault. And like a mess and that that Decals you could kind of like the form was a little bit more normal and stuff. Those solo guitar pieces are always the most formally man, saying sophisticated or advanced is nerd shit and not correct, but more flowingly more experimental music-ish in the sense, not in the sense of the sound of it, but in the sense of the way it flows, like talking about that new music attention versus the rock attention. That fucking, like, those things, they don't repeat at all, those solo guitar pieces. I mean,
again, that's also like a parallel, like you were saying, to like early music, you know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The flow, man. Just bars, just medieval bars.
Which is, I think, is interesting, because I know like someone that like Beefheart would have like definitely looked up to as sort of like a composer figure was like Stravinsky. And like I watched your early music crash course video, and you bring up in there that I can't remember which composers, but like Stravinsky was like a ride or die for like one of those specific.
It was Akegem or Okegem. Yeah. He he was considered too nerdy even for like even for like early music people. They were like, this is just too complicated and thorny. I mean, yes, something that Akegem does not do, but Stravinsky with the polytonality or polymodal, that was a totally part of his language. So I mean, it's Stravinsky, the Beefheart Stravinsky connection is not a stretch.
Yeah,
I don't think, just to like think, things simultaneously, in different keys or whatever. And the Ornette Coleman aspect. I mean, there's so much of that stuff, like on at least listening to like My Decals Off, with stuff that it does repeat, but like what's being repeated will be like both
these long flowing passages.
Like like a long flowing gesture, and the drums like don't line up with like nailing every rhythm, but they do something that's in counterpoint to it. And if you just heard it once, you'd be like, that doesn't line up. But then they repeat it several times, and it's like these little waves. It's like very man. I mean, that dude. I mean, how deep do you go on like Anthony Braxton or like AACM?
I only know a little bit by them, but bend my ear about it.
Just like the AACM was this whole it's like a sort of associate. It still exists, the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians. They're like based in Chicago, and it's like just like people who are coming out of improvised music and combining it with like the sort of like classical like elements from the European avant-garde of the 20th century, basically. So people are coming out of coming out of Cecil Taylor and John Coltrane, but also coming out of like Stockhausen and Boulez. But anyway, it's like that's the kind of thing that those cats were all about, especially Braxton, like that thing of like, it's composed, but not everything lines up, but you sculpt these gestures together that it's it's just a sick kind of halfway between, composition and improvisation. But yeah, man, I mean, it's like, I mean, and with Zappa, as far as I know, he does not do that. I mean, as far as I know with Zappa, it's all like just the tightest, just air, just airtight, like,
I think that's true as well. Although like he's put out enough that there's probably some examples somewhere of him playing around with this like a little bit, but like it's definitely not the norm for Zappa.
Yeah. I mean, there's improvisation. I mean, he's such a sick guitar player, Zappa, man. I mean, he is really like a serious cat on the instrument. I got a question for you. Check. Okay.
Yeah.
This may be going nowhere, because I started looking it up, and I was like, I'm not finding anything. So I'm like, in any case, do you remember that that term "old weird America"? That like Grill Marcus uses, or I think it's Grill Marcus, or was it Lester? Like one of those cats.
Yeah, I don't remember who, but it's vaguely familiar to me. Yeah, why?
I don't know. I was like, it like makes me think of Beefheart, but then what people are talking about with that, apparently "old weird America" doesn't mean that.
I guess what do they mean? What do they mean by that?
I'm not sure. I think it's like, like 19th century, like or like early 20th century, like weird preachers and shit. Like I don't know, like stuff like I guess like Cormac McCarthy, like what his like stuff would be about.
Okay, that's sort of what I imagined, and to that I have to say Moonlight on Vermont. Give
Yeah,
me that old
yeah.
time religion.
Yeah,
I think there's very much that element in Beefheart.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like the Americana with him. Like, yeah, like it's not just like, oh yeah, it's the 60s and I'm into like blues rock and I'm the white guy doing Howlin' Wolf. I mean, it seems to go like deeper into the sense of like America. And like I think of someone like Harry Parch, like these like American outsider cats. I don't know, like that's he was like a hobo. Are you into Harry Parch at all? Ooh, you're frozen. Frozen.
What I've listened to, I love and like respect the hell out of him as a composer. Very much. I'm down with Parch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you lost. Yeah. No, I got a little bit of that. I mean, I got what you said. Yeah, you're saying you're down with Parch. A lot of respect for Parch.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm not a serious head with him. I'm no like expert or whatever, but I definitely am like, he's inspiring to me as an as an American, just as a straight up American, and just like hopping trains and being like this homeless like hobo, like in the Depression or whatever. It's I don't know, it makes me think of Beefheart. I don't know, just like the West Coast, there's just this certain like it's just so like LA, it's so West Coast, the desert. I mean, it's just not from New York or Boston. I mean, it's just like stating the most obvious shit in the world, but just like the vibe of it is so deserty and I don't know, it's like frontier-ish or something.
No, absolutely. Yeah. But
yeah,
something I was gonna say, but I forget what it was now. Sorry.
The old time religion vibe. Yeah. What am I look, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff here. I was like it's funny, yeah, we were talking about things that sound like things in a very on the nose way. I always used to when I first heard John French's drumming, I was like, yeah, man, it sounds like he's like falling down the stairs. And then it was just like Beefheart like threw him down the stairs. Like, that's the legend. It's like it's just like, okay.
Well, no, that's not legend. That's he did do that.
Yeah. No, totally. It definitely got me thinking about like abuse. I don't know. It's like everyone talks now about, canceling artists for being abusive, but it's always like they're abusive in their personal life. But it got me thinking,
like professionally.
Yeah. Professionally, like you're getting the results through abuse. That makes it even harder to get into that, separating the artist from the art, whatever, if you give a shit about that, which I really don't. But it's I don't give a shit about it, but I give a shit about the fact that other people give a shit about it, because it's just like interesting to be like just sort of
oh yeah, no, for sure.
It really makes you want to justify abusive behavior when the work itself was like,
is so good.
It's like the deepest shit ever, and it was just like wrought in like the furnace of like the musician suffering or something, or like I was thinking about like The Shining or whatever, you're like, Shelley Duvall's face, you're like, that's really her face during filming, like that's not acting. It's like, oh, like, but it's hard. Look, she's a good actress, so probably they could have gotten the same vibe in The Shining without whatever the fuck they did to terrorize her. As far as Beefheart, man, I mean,
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's
not to shit on any of them as musicians, but like, I kind of don't think you would have been able to get that out of them without doing that to some extent.
Just like conditions, man. Just like the conditions that that you like put people under. I don't know. It's like I mean, that may be why it sounds dark, man. Zapp is not dark. He's not dark. Yeah. He handed out sheet music to people who kill it at reading sheet music.
Yeah. Although if you want to talk about certain members of that band, there are some dark things, but maybe you don't need to talk about that.
Oh, really? No, I'm interested. Why? What was Zappa throwing people down the stairs too, or no?
No, the bass player in the original lineup of the Mothers of Invention, who, if I remember, Eric Estrada, or no, that's not his name. It's something like that, but like he also played bass on like Spotlight Kid era, like Beefheart,
Right.
is like a chimo.
Oh shit. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're
So,
around, you know. I mean,
yeah, they're around. And I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm just like, yeah, there was some dark shit in the Zappa crew too.
yeah. No, for sure. But that's not like in rehearsal, you know. That's just like, oh,
Right,
what are you
no,
doing?
for sure.
That's like, what are you doing after rehearsal? Like, don't worry about it. I'm just, you know,
Don't think about
like,
it. I'm fine.
don't mind me, man. I'll catch you guys the next rehearsal. Yeah. I mean, like shit, like I don't know, like Charles Mingus, you know, chasing people or chasing his band around with a meat cleaver, you know.
Yeah.
It's like that not being the end of the band, but being, you know, you like play the gig the next day after that. I mean, the threshold for psychotic behavior, you know, used to be like quite a bit higher, you know. Like,
yeah. I think there's also something to say about like, I don't know, just the stuff that will like drive someone like Mingus or like Beefheart to like behave that way. In Beefheart's case, I think there's probably like a lot of mental illness at play as well. But like, there's a certain like monomania that I think is that sort of leads to that I think is I don't know, to some extent, and this is maybe going to make me sound like a prick, but like endearing to a certain extent. Like it's this man with a vision. You just like, I have to like force this on you. I don't know. And as an artistically inclined person, I find that fascinating. And like, it's, I identify with it to a certain extent.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like the kind of, the kind of psychology that leads one to do like extreme music. It might lead someone to do other things that are extreme in other ways. It's even weirder to think about somebody like, think about like Beefheart being that psycho and that abusive in the name of this vision. Mm-hmm. And then to be like, let's sell out, like just to go from that to like this kind of like not really very principled, sort of like quixotic mission to be a normal dude. It's like, like he just gave up his. I also wonder, I mean, was he being psycho and abusing the band on the later records? I mean, that's something also that I don't know. Was he just,
it's from what I know, based on like the accounts of the like people in like the later iterations of the band, no. Like as like that original crew of people who like he basically had to like artistically like groom to be like to perform his vision. He was very abusive with them, but all the people in like the second iteration of the band were like people who like grew up as maybe Chief Struggling for, but like had listened to the records like as they were coming out and like were already like sort of down with the mission and like got it. So like he didn't have to do that to a certain extent.
I know. Yeah. See, this is also, I love that. Cause that's a thing with like where a band can, you like establish a little micro tradition, you know, within itself. And then people can join and they already know what the deal is and they don't have to be abused. What a fucking what a rip off for the original band. Okay. So yes, one thing that's special about Lick My Decals Off, and I don't even, I can't say I notice why. I don't know if I can tell why. I mean, I don't know if I can hear it on the record, but just the fact that it was the guitar player who did all the transcribing and not John French, right? Like John French plays drums on it, but he didn't. Like on Trout Mask, he did all the transcribing of Beefheart's crazy compositions in the arrangement, whereas on this, it was Zoodhorn Rollo, right? The guitar player. Yeah. But I don't know if that's really making it different one way or the other. I mean,
I think there's definitely, and again, I don't know what specifically about it. I wouldn't be able to articulate the specific difference, but like there is a very different sensibility in terms of like how the things are pieced together. Which I think like the French doing the arrangement versus Zoodhorn Rollo sort of might account for like the structural differences between Trout Mask and Decals. Like it's just like different sensibilities in terms of like how to put things together, I guess.
Well, that matters. I mean, that matters quite a bit, you know. I mean, but see, now I got to go back to Decals because is it like, I guess, you know what, I guess when I remember, go back to Trout Mask. I mean, when I think about Trout Mask, actually, now that I think about it, it does stays on a given part for quite a while, I guess. I mean, there's but it has the sudden changes too. I mean, the drumming is way more dense. I mean, if I remember correctly, that's
Yeah.
quite a bit. I mean, decals, you can make out the parts on decals. I mean, it's never so dense that I'm like completely can't follow what's happening simultaneously. But you're talking about the sort of like the form, right? I mean, how things unfold in time, you know. So yeah, maybe Zuhor and Rolo had more of a like a stranger vibe with that or something. I don't know. It's
or maybe not. I don't know. This is just conjecture on my part, but it's I don't know. That seems like it makes a certain amount of sense to me, I guess. I don't know.
No, because like I want to find these like differences in there and stuff. It's like what was I gonna say? It's just it really is quite a different record. I don't hear people talk about that record other than people who are like really deep on Beefheart, you know. In fact, this is, dude, I mean, I'm old enough. When I got into Beefheart, man, Lick My Decals Off was out of print because back then in the early aughts, something could be out of print. And so I was like, there's this record that I would love to hear. How can I hear Lick My Decals Off? And so, yeah, I mean, I had to wait till it got like reissued or something on vinyl. Or no, maybe it was like 2000. Right. So it would have been 2000. I like heard about Beefheart, and then like 2003 or 4, I think I was able to find Lick My Decals Off, and it was just on vinyl. That was exciting. I don't know, just like to not be, it was like this lost record. So yeah, so it's like, why would that be out of print? Like, you know, it's like people don't care. People didn't care about it as much. I don't know, you know,
which is a shame because it's as good and interesting as Trout Mask. Like it's as worthwhile as that album if you haven't listened to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm thinking like also just on the topic of like, you know, it being Beefheart being like sort of sexier than Zappa, or without even comparing him to Zappa, we could just give that up if we want. But I mean, he's his influence on no wave is just so huge, you know, in a way that Zappa would probably not be at all. At least I don't hear any threads, you know, the guitar playing in particular, you know, and the drumming too, you know, I mean.
Well, and also just like the whole template, and this like even goes beyond like no wave and like extends to like punk and post punk, but just like the whole format of just like weird guys screaming on top of weird noise. That starts with Beefheart. And it's an extension of like folk music, like, but like he makes it such an extreme thing that just like everyone just like, oh, you don't have to sing like a normal person. You just sort of like shout some shit and like you're good.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because actually that's when I got into Beefheart. I was in the process of getting into no wave too. So that was to me, I was like, okay, yeah, like DNA has like something in common with especially like the drumming and the guitar tone, even, you know, I mean, just like that super trebly, you know, like nasty kind of I mean, I know you're really, I don't know if this is exactly no wave, but I mean, you're super into Per Ubu, you know, you're always like really going hard on Per Ubu, who I like, but I haven't, they're not like a thing for me, you know, like I haven't dug deep, but they're very cool.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Well, look, you know, life is long. I mean, I'm about to.
I get it.
I'm about to finally get into Zappa here after, like, you know, but
after your Zappa phase, you set some time aside for some Ubu, man. It's very worth your time.
or not. It's maybe this Zappa thing will just be a wave that crested the past few months, but yeah, I mean, in Per Ubu and stuff like that, I hear Beefheart elements, man.
Yeah.
The fall for sure. I hear some of that, like with the drumming, you know. Even just using the cowbell in like a weirdo context, you know?
Yeah.
Like not riding it, you know, having it be part of some weird pattern that's repeating, you know, like the cowbells, like, it's a very particular, I mean, you know, man, you know, what's so sick about French's drumming and about just his influence on no wave is that thing of like, not only is it the sort of, the non-dynamic thing, which I love hearing that he deliberately was instructed to do that. There's also this vibe of like using the kit where it's like you're like using each drum as this kind of individual thing, you know, and like making these patterns that don't sound like they flow, like they, you know, like it's not just that the rhythm doesn't flow, it's like even just the sounds like aren't like it sounds like you're like composing drum parts, drum by drum, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's sort of like I don't know. It's just like a microcosm of like the whole of like most of the pieces. That just like the drum part in and of itself is as much of a collage as like the entirety of the piece.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Which,
Which
makes sense if you like know like what French's like role was supposed to be in the band. Like when it came to like Trout Mask, like Don specifically told him like your job as a drummer is to sort of glue these different parts together.
Yes.
But you start to see like become like less of a thing on decals to a certain extent, at least in like certain places. But like on Trout Mask, it's very much just like, each like drum part is essentially like following or like slightly dancing around like a pulse of like one of the instruments, and like it just walks it and ties it together.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like what's this vibe of like where you're doing drum stuff where the individual drums don't have consistently they don't have like a consistent role in the thing. It's not like, the hi-hat's doing this one kind of thing throughout and the tom's doing this one type of thing. It's like they're all just like they get like equal air time.
Yeah.
Like it's just all over the kit, like that kind of, like the information is like evenly distributed across the whole kit. That to me, like that was one of the particular things that I was so pumped on getting into it, because I was into like, the classical composition and getting into like, avant-garde compositions. So I was like, these are like compositions for drums. It's not like drumming, which doesn't actually make it superior. But when you're like jerking off to like fucking, like Boulez, like that sounds, it's not even, it's a composition.
This actually reminds me of something I wanted to ask you about. And you probably know more about him than I do. So this might be totally off base, but like based on like what I know about him, over like the past like year or two, I've been thinking about like this parallel between like Beefheart and like Elliott Carter on like a composition level. Would you happen to have any thoughts about that or no?
Not off the top of my head, I'm not like seizing on anything. Although, actually I only, as far as Carter's music, it's really just the string quartets that I know. But I mean, as far as like, as far as super hooked up counterpoint, Elliott Carter is hooked up. I mean, just as far as
Elliott Carter is phenomenal.
Like and just like high tech. Yeah, like just like high tech counterpoint that's like, expressive and but also, I mean, academic's not because academic always has like a negative connotation, but to me it's not like inherently bad or good. It's just like a descriptive term of something that's just like highly like polished in its
or like rigorous, I guess.
Like super rigorous in a way, and just highly like deliberate sounding, which Beefheart does not have what I would call academic, although it is very rigorous the way he's getting the people to do it. But
and like the fact that they're like rehearsing it as extensively as they are and they can replicate it, that there's rigor in that. In terms of like the parts that each of them are playing, like the parts on their own don't feel like, again, there's this like primitive quality to like the individual pieces of it.
Like that's the thing. Well, it's definitely contrapuntal music though. I mean, like Beefheart is absolutely doing counterpoint with the drums being part of that. And so the stuff is interacting in these super complex ways, but like I said, that kind of falling down the stairs thing where it's like, it's things aren't lining up in a totally anal way, and like that. That would be kind of different than Elliott Carter. It's like when I think of Carter, I just think of like the most like high tech, like wrought type stuff. I don't know. Are you big on Elliott Carter? Are you like a big fan? Or
I really like what I know of his work. It's been a little bit since I've like revisited it, but like I'm very interested in like Carter, and also just like the whole like metric modulation thing with him has been very fascinating, and I've been trying to like incorporate that into like shit I've been writing. But I don't know, I guess like one of the things that like makes me draw this parallels, I read this biography on Carter, and like one of the points like it's brought up in this book is like why he sort of started composing that way, and like I guess like his whole vision of like why he was composing that way was to sort of like create this musical embodiment of like what his like perfect society would be, which I think ties into like other things I've been like talking about thematically during this. But that's always been very interesting to me, and I've sort of seen. I wouldn't say that like Beefheart is exclusively doing like a musical embodiment of like his ideal society would be. But I would see like a lot of what's going on musically on Trout Mask and Decals is sort of like a mirror of like the society that we like currently live in, which I think from what I can grok of like what Carter sort of like does compositionally, it sort of seems like this weird mirror of like modern society, I guess. It's this sort of like weird technocratic thing of like trying to and I think like when you came on No Future, I sort of brought this up, but like there's this element of like trying to like free like each individual tone and like each discrete part like as much as possible, but like still keeping it in this sort of like weird container where like or something, I guess. I'm rambling now, but you see what I'm gesturing at?
Not rambling. I do see. Okay. I see what you're gesturing at. I'm interested more in just like what Carter's like deal with that was. Well, we were talking about serialism, which like I don't think Carter was a serialist, right? He was not. I don't think
he wasn't really. I think some of his early stuff might have been informed by it, but I also might be misremembering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would see. I don't know. In my mind, I see. I get, and this is maybe more true of other composers, but I think in like his own way, Carter was sort of like responding to serialism in terms of like what, not Stockhausen. Why am I blanking on his name?
Schoenberg.
Thank you. Like what Schoenberg was trying to do with like the emancipation of the dissonance.
Yeah.
I think Carter is sort of responding and like trying to like do his version of that to like every other aspect of music, which I think a lot of like composers post Schoenberg were attempting to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, Stockhausen was definitely doing like serializing durations of notes, serializing articulations, of notes and shit like that, and like serializing dynamics, which is like, I mean, that is so sick. I mean, to take serialism to that like level, but I mean, Carter, I have not studied his stuff on a harmonic or really at all, but I mean, I know that he has very consistent harmonic language, like what he's doing is
because he's doing like the weird like tetrachords and everything, like all interval tetrachords and shit to try to get like his musical thing, which I think was his way of like avoiding like the serialization of his composition, because I don't think he fucks with serialism at all.
Right. Like when people are like people of these generations, right, they're avoiding serialism, but they want that same level of coherence. Beefheart, not. I mean, Beefheart is very much not on that vibe. I mean, why would we expect him to be going that route? But why? I'm interested though. Do you remember though, Carter, what his deal was with thinking? What his deal was with the ideal society? What this like political like angle on his music was? Like what?
My memory of it is that it was like a lot vaguer than like you'd like it to be, but like essentially is like he sort of. I don't know. He was sort of like this technocratic sort of utopian, I guess. Like, have you seen Playtime by Jack Tati? Do you know that movie at all?
No.
Well, it's like a sort of, I guess, like lighthearted comedy about like this character, Mr. Hulot, who's like sort of this old time like Frenchman who's like part of like Tati's like greater filmography, but like that character sort of walking around and ventilating into the background of like this like weird like new.
You're frozen. You're frozen up. Too bad. My man is freezing.
Charlie, am I back yet?
You're back, man. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luckily, I stopped where I think I probably froze at, but like I don't know. Just this like sort of comedy of errors in terms of like this guy and other people in the city just sort of dealing with like modernity, I guess. But basically what like Tati is sort of like gently critiquing and like hoping for like an optimistic outcome by the end of the movie would seem to be like what Carter just wholly endorsing. It would seem like to me, but I don't know. There are people who definitely know more about this than I do, so I could be talking out of my ass.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, it's funny with these parallels with like musical language, with classical music, especially like, with musical language and like the sort of political or social implications. It's like, I can't remember who was it recently was like someone was just like, yeah, I mean, it's so stupid. It's like when people say that serialism is like communism. I mean, like, come on. And I was like, that's exactly what I've always thought and said. Like, why is that stupid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was kind of like,
no, it's not stupid.
But
the only reason I hesitate is like I just might not be like familiar enough or know enough about the actual musical components to like be as confident as I may be in coming across.
I want to know
some of these assertions.
I want to remember who it was that made fun of that, because I remember they were someone who I respected enough to at least pause before pushing back. So I can't remember who said that, but who thought that was cringe. But I mean, it seems communist as hell. I mean, to have this overarching total management system that makes everybody equal, but the whole thing just sounds mousy brown and like it didn't work out. I mean, that's communism right there. I mean, basically in serialism. But no, serialism does not make everything mousy brown. It's just the colors are whatever. But I mean, Beefheart, I don't know. Utopian society. Definitely.
Well, I guess to sort of clarify what I mean there is like I would see Beefheart's work on a purely musical level as sort of being like the to get really pretentious, sort of the Jungian shadow of that sort of technocratic vision, and like presenting it as sort of like this very like fraught and like discordant sort of reality, which I think also like plays into like why he makes the production decisions he does. Because like this is something I was thinking about when I was watching like your early music crash course videos. You were talking about like the difference between like Gregorian chant era early music and like the Renaissance.
Yeah.
And like the Gregorian chant style, just like everything, I guess you'd say like sort of the homophonic quality of it, where like, or like the flat sort of nature of it, where it like sort of lacks any sort of like acoustic depth or something. There's a parallel with that in like Beefheart's sort of like production style on those records, I think, which I think is an interesting thing.
Right. It's flattened. You mean it's sort of like it's not. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about the production style, except insofar as like Trout Mask is really raw sounding, and Decals is a little less raw, and then Clear Spot's not raw, even less raw. But I know what you're saying with the hyper compressed vibe. It is like that. Yeah, man. Because the stuff I was talking about was after Gregorian chant, but like when you have polyphony, like in the 13th and 14th century, and then in the Renaissance it's polyphony, but it's just like the parts are independent enough that it sounds kind of 3D, you know. I mean that's right. The production could have been more organic sounding. I wonder if how much would that have felt a lot different? Would that have changed the emotional like effect of the music if it had been like Albini, if Albini had produced, you know, where it just literally sounds like the guys in a room with good mics and the room sounding.
Well, this is something the Magic Band actually like complains a lot about. Like this is something they've always been very unhappy with, like the mixing and production on those records.
Yeah.
Or at least like the John French like early era. I'm not sure about like the Eric True and like later records or whatever.
You know, the rhythm section loves to fucking complain about the production. But you know, man, they're usually right, but it's like whatever. Well, you know who I can't believe we're not talking about?
Who?
Fucking why is nobody talking about like some snarky tweet about why is nobody talking about US Maple, who that's
great band,
really one of the best that you know, some of my favorite music ever, and that actually I was getting into them at exactly the same time as Beefheart, being very aware that they were super influenced by Beefheart, like totally.
Actually, they're not. They're really not that influenced by Beefheart. Like I've watched interviews with them, and they're like, "Yeah, he's fine, I guess."
Do they
genuinely don't see what they do as like being that comparable to Beefheart. And honestly, I think they're right, because like on a composition level, like it's not nearly as dense. Like
it's not.
It's weird in terms of like the way the parts fit together, but they're doing a lot more like play with like subtlety and like stretching out like time in terms of like
they are. But I mean, if we're just talking about the language of like taking bluesy rock music and turning it into
with it, like on that level,
turning it into contrapuntal music. I mean, US Maple is very much I mean, the counterpoint is a big thing of their thing. It's just it's so much more spare. You know, that's like that you wouldn't think about Elliott Carter at all, whereas like Beefheart you might, you know. But I mean, I am surprised to hear that they aren't. I mean, also just guitar tone wise, you know. But I did think of them because you were talking about just the 3D, or the sort of flattened stuff where they are very much not flattened. I mean, it really does sound, they're very roomy and spacious, and that does give room for those, the dynamics that they're working on. But it's, dude, it's also in the template though. They are totally in the no wave template of crazy guy.
Oh, for sure.
Singing over, yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, the guy Al Johnson, he would like, maybe you know this. To me, it's just like just delightful for me to think about. Just that all his little breaths and wheezes and like all those little things.
No, they're very intentionally plotted.
They're intentionally fucking plotted out. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I can believe it now because I'm like, okay, this is so great. That's probably why it's so great. But I mean, man, to even think to do that, man, it's
to go back to Ubu real quick. Apparently, Dave Thomas from Ubu records his vocals like the exact same way. Like he painstakingly goes like, if he has to, like syllable by syllable to get like the right fucking sound that he wants. I love that to death. Like, because it shows that there's like a very clear like intentionality to like the vision or something, that like it has to be like a very specific way or else it like means something else.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, these are more people who are not outsider artists, You I don't care how weird that dude is on stage or how much heroin he does or whatever. It's not an outsider guy. He's a fucking, he's a really carefully considered musician. Man, yeah. They were like, I saw them twice, maybe.
You got to see them?
I think I saw them 3 times. Yeah, definitely twice. I definitely saw them on the Talker. Dude, this is just, you'll get old.
See them around Talker.
You'll get older and you will have done shit that other people haven't done. You know what I mean? It's like when
I don't know. That record in particular is like my favorite US Maple record. So I'm just very jealous that you got to see that. And
they killed it. Yeah, the Talker tour was great, and then on the Purple on Time tour. I mean, yeah, dude, I'm old, dude. I saw Nirvana. I mean, I'm like, I was like 12, but whatever.
Out of curiosity, how was that?
What's that?
How was seeing Nirvana live now that you brought that up? Because I just out of curiosity.
Well, I mean, I was so young that, I mean, I didn't have anything to compare it to. I was just like, this is my favorite band and it's happening and this is fucking bonkers, Okay. Like, I think it was like the 3rd concert I had ever seen. So
what year was it?
94. So, or no, 90.
So right at the end.
No, 90. No, it wouldn't have been 94. It was 93. It would have been like the end of 93. So I was like 13. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They had the angels. They had the in utero angels
right.
on stage, and he like knocked the head off the angel and stuff, which now I think is cringe, but at the time it was very cool.
I mean, you're 13. You're good.
Yeah.
Any 13-year-old would love that.
Yeah. I'll take, that's a band that has aged so well that they haven't even aged, man. I mean, I like went on a Nirvana wormhole on, is it Worm or Rabbit Hole? On a Rabbit Hole.
Either works, I think.
I think I think Wormhole, I think if you come out somewhere else in space. Rabbit Hole, I think if you come out back out the same way. Anyway, but yeah, I went on like a Nirvana rabbit hole recently, and I was like, this is even more emotionally powerful now that I actually know what pain is on some level at all, modest compared to Cobain's, of course, but yeah, dude, that stuff is grim. It's grim music, in a way that US Maple is not. Coming back to US Maple might be dark, but that shit is really playful and fun to me. I don't know. It's very like
and same with Beefheart too. Like as dark as it is, there's so much like fun to it.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, it's to me, it's only dark. It's dark on this more like, like beneath the, sort of
like tonal level, not necessarily like thematically. Right?
Yeah. Some of this shit though, I don't know, like his lyrics, I didn't, it took me a while to realize how I don't know, political or ecological his lyric. I mean, it's like an SJW, he's like telling you to like recycle and shit. You know what I mean? He's like, it's beautiful. It warms my heart. I mean, it's, although I don't know, we're talking about ideal society, like he's on that vibe, but then he's on some like classic LA cult leader shit. So
yeah, which makes you wonder if he isn't maybe on a more eco-fascist tip or something, but who knows?
Eco-fash. we're gonna be seeing more of that. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Fucking yeah, it's such a that West Coast cult vibe. It's just like they take off here because people are just like not as sharp. So they just they just let you like throw them down the stairs, and they're just like, it's like.
I'd also imagine like part of it's like a sort of rootlessness that sort of most of the people have there. Because I don't know, the West Coast and LA in particular seems like a place like there aren't, most of the people aren't locals. Most of them are coming there because of like Hollywood and like wanting to make something of themselves essentially. So
yeah, that is there is the rootlessness. Yeah, people are ready to be taken in by God knows what, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Just since I moved out here, I've just been on this like over the top New York pride / nostalgia, you know, like on every level. So it's interesting to me just like realizing how much just how deep certain West Coast artists have been for me. Just West Coast aesthetics, just LA musicians who've just been like so important to me, you know.
Right.
Who knows how much they've made it into my. See, this is some shit, man. Beefheart, at the time when I got into that shit in my early 20s, he was like super important for what I was doing, like compositionally and stuff. And especially with improvisation, actually. I would say as a free improviser, which I still do sometimes, he was probably the most influential to me with that, with just the weird loops and the semi-repeating shit on the guitar. But nowadays, man, his stuff really, you wouldn't be able to hear his stuff in my music at all, really. So it's weird how influences go, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
People change you forever, but you don't necessarily hear it, you know. It's but that's you know, it's all part of the arc, the journey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What okay. Do you see or hear or feel connections between Beefheart and Current 93, David Tibet? Because that is something we've I feel like I just keep talking about Current 93 with everyone, and I'm not slowing down on it, man. And I know, like, you know, we bond on Twitter about Current 93 in a serious way. So like, I don't know, like, I mean, I was hearing some similarities, just at least the apocalyptic reaping vibe of the lyrics, you know, on some level. I don't know. Sonically, maybe not.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that lyrically, and I guess that sort of lyrical thing sort of ties into like that whole, what I would refer to as like the neo-folk thing, and that's including like Psychic TV and Coil and even like TG in a certain sense. But just that whole crew of musicians, I think that applies to. But I think the fact that, like, I don't know, there's a reason that like Coil specifically are like dropping references to like Beefheart and like their stuff, and not Current 93. And like Current 93 is making more like conventional, relatively speaking, like folk music.
True. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, sonically with the actual like instruments, I mean, yeah, like there wouldn't be a connection. There wouldn't be a connection with Current 93. But like, I'm just thinking like, as a front man and as a singer, the vibe of preaching over something that you're not exactly lining up with, you know, sound wise. I mean, you know, talking about that no wave thing of like crazy guy over band. Current 93 kind of does that for me, even though it's not no wave.
No, absolutely.
Not even though it's not no wave at all, but it like it scratches a little bit of that itch. Yeah, I mean, also on the vibe of like a guy who's the sole member of the thing and is clearly a genius, but you still don't know exactly what his role is in sculpting the music. Like, I still don't really know what Tibet is doing with the musicians, like, you know what I mean? But it's like he's obviously making the art what it is overall, but like, you know, it's even more mysterious with him, like how he's steering the ship, you know.
True. Yeah.
Like
true.
But yeah, like yeah, people give it up to Beefheart, man, in no wave and punk, that they do not give it up to Zappa, you know. I'm sure I've heard Michael Jarrah talk up Beefheart.
Well, I've also heard Jarrah talk up Zappa though.
Oh yeah, he does. Okay, he's got some breadth. He's got breadth to his to his influences and stuff.
I remember seeing an interview where like Gerard mentioned that like one of the things he like appreciated about Zappa specifically was the humor, which is just like it's just weird hearing Gerard talk about humor, you know? It's just weird.
Yeah. I mean, he needs a refresher, you know, he's not trying to take his work home with him, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Swans are not funny. There's nothing funny. There's not one funny line in any of that.
I would disagree.
What do you find humorous in Swans?
I think there's a lot of like really black humor in Swans, man. Like fucking a screw, like when he's just going, put your head on the ground, push your ass up. Like obviously there's like an element of horror to that too, but there's also like an absurdity to just like how blunt it is. And there's also a really funny anecdote about this where like apparently David Yao from like the Jesus Lizard was like hanging out with Thirlwell like in New York at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And like they just go after like some show to like hang out at like Thirlwell's apartment, and like Gerard's there, and like Yao goes up to like Gerard and just like, do you think your lyrics are funny? And Gerard's just like, no. And like they have some weird interaction. I can't remember how it plays out exactly, but it ends up with like, I think Yao bites Gerard's tongue or something. Like it's some bizarre interaction.
Yeah. What you're saying? Yao was asking Gerard if Gerard thought his own lyrics were funny, or if Gerard thought okay. Because Jesus Lizard lyrics are funny for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
That's That's another band that I saw because I'm an old man. Well, they got back together and shit, but back in the day. I can't, I don't know, a screw. I can't, maybe I'm just a humorless, dour goth. I take that shit completely seriously. I'm like this isn't
being serious, but it's just like there's a co-presence of these things. And it's like the anecdote about like Blue Velvet, like when they're filming the scene where like Frank Booth is like really terrorizing like Dorothy, and like he's watching him like through like the blinds, like the closet, like after they like were like in between scenes, like everyone else on set was horrified, but like Lynch was like doubled over laughing. Like there's a very dark humor to this stuff, and like the same in like White House or something. Like
that I can see.
Like there is also like some humor.
No, that I can see for sure. And no, I mean Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet is actually funny. Like much. Like I mean it's I mean, actually, Blue Velvet never. Also, Lynch, right, said that Trout Mask is his favorite record.
Yeah,
a lot
of thematic connections there.
Yeah.
Fucking electricity.
I know, dude. No. I'm like throwing my mic over because I'm like so like on board with what you're saying. Yes, I was. Yeah, the song "Electricity" is like Lynch really he really did a number on that word for those of us who've seen. It's funny, Lynch. I find Lynch in general to be some of the scariest stuff. Even as an adult, I'm like on some monsters under the bed shit when it comes to like Twin Peaks and some of Inland Empire. But actually, Blue Velvet I don't find creepy at all. I just find it beautiful and kind of.
It's beautiful, and then like the dark parts are mostly funny. Honestly.
Yeah, they're funny and just kind of like There's something. I mean, that might be my favorite Lynch movie. I know it's like the
Blue
most.
Velvet.
Just because it's the most normal, like it's the most just like perfect, like it's an actual movie. It's not like what the fuck's going on. It's like it's the narrative is like.
I have to pause here and say Straight Story exists and is also.
I know. So is that really? I know. Okay. Well, I think of that. I think of that as like a just such a different thing that it's because that's not a normal movie, dude. That's like so G-rated that it's like. Kind of an experimental vibe. I mean, I don't know. At least from what I remember, I'd have to watch it again. But it's like that. Like I remember that shit being like just like smoothed over to the point. Like just I don't know. Yeah, but to watch that.
I see what you mean. Like it's hard to like not read something like that coming from someone like Lynch in that way. But I genuinely think there's like a lot more depth to that than it just being like, oh, he shows that he can do a normal movie or something.
Yeah.
Like, but again, we're getting off topic. But yeah, sorry.
No. I mean, we could talk about Lynch forever. I mean, do we have to specifically talk about Trout? About Lick My Decals Off for fucking 3 hours? We don't need to. But yeah, no, because I think I have not exhausted my desire to keep gabbing with you. I have probably exhausted like these little like I have a point to make things about
Okay.
about lick my decals off. Have I? I mean, yeah, this is like we talked about the dinosaurs
Mhm.
and the fossil fuel resources. Um, yeah, yeah. I know, man. I'm gonna have to get on this. I'm gonna have to get on this Zappa trip, man, because it's just like, especially. Oh, the Yellow Shark is another one that's sick. That
I actually don't think I know that song.
yeah. And no, it's like a record. It's like the last. I think it's one of the last things.
Oh,
He did, yeah. But like, yeah, it's like, does humor belong in music? You know that. I got a question, man. Who do you think is really
yeah.
funny now? Like, who would you say is like a really funny musician or band? Like someone that's like,
Like someone working contemporary.
yeah, like
right
someone
now.
who's doing, yeah, because I can't think of I can't think of any off the top of my head. But oh no, we would actually no, but you said what's his name? Alexander, what
Oh,
was it?
Alex Cameron.
Alex Cameron. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
and
one.
I think that's mostly true of that one album because like the rest of his stuff, I don't think has been nearly that good. And it's not like he stopped trying to be funny necessarily, but just like I don't think it works as well on like his other records
Yeah.
since then. But beyond that, I think I don't know Danny Brown. Like I think in rap, it's very easy to think of people. But
Danny
like,
Brown is fucking funny.
yeah, he's really funny.
That
I
that
love
dude is
guy.
that dude is naming it, like, because he's kind of like maybe what he got kind of big when he was like 30 or something. Started naming his
Yeah,
second album "Old" is
yeah,
like the fucking funniest. I was like just cracking up even just from the title. Yeah. No, he's good. I know rap is like different, yeah, but like
yeah.
as far as like other styles and stuff, I'm gonna have to check that dude out. That you're talking about. Um, yeah, man. I mean, I for years I would have said I do not like humor in music. That was my Zappa thing. Does humor belong in
But
music? The
you like
question
Thurwell, though.
was that.
But you like Thurwell, though.
I
And there's
do.
so much humor in that.
There is. Yeah, totally. Well, but I didn't get into Thurwell when I was that age, really. I got
Oh,
into
okay.
him. I got into him kind of like into my 20s, when I was like
Okay.
really into like experimental music and stuff. Yeah. Like I knew of Fetus when I was like 20, but I didn't really like get down with him until like
Okay.
26, 27. But also it's like I don't even know if his humor is like what I like about his shit. I don't know. It's like I don't know.
Okay. That's interesting.
Or I don't know. Sometimes it's like there's this, I don't know how to describe this. Sometimes there's this vibe with people doing jokes where it's like the conviction of it is powerful, but like it's not actually funny to me, but like they're
Okay.
going so hard on the humor that like there's just a vitality and energy to that
Okay.
that
I can see that.
I don't laugh at. Like I never listen to a Thurwell thing and like actually like chuckle or think it's funny, but like the humor is like cool. Like the humor is like part of the intensity or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like just this desire to like make light of horrific things,
Yeah.
is like there's like a power to it or something. But
No, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. Just for me personally, though, I do think Thurwell is legitimately funny. I do like genuinely laugh like all most of his shit.
yeah. He fucking rules, man. That dude he's such an inspiration, man. He just never stops. Like he's just got like all these fucking projects. I can't even. They've
Yeah.
like proliferated over the past 20 years. It's like so. I'm constantly like catching up. Do these like Thurwell catch up sessions. It's
Yeah.
like what has he been up to and shit. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, dog. Are we reaching a cadence, or are we just
Maybe.
about to start? Are we about to start the whole next phase of this? I feel like these live streams have been getting longer and longer. They've been like,
Okay.
they used to all be like an hour and a half. Now they're like,
In the past several have been like, close to like 3 hours and shit. Which...
Yeah. No, they've been going on to 3, man. But it's like, we're getting like coming up on 2 right now. Let's see if we got some comments here, because that's another.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if people have been they haven't been as chatty here in the comments. What do we got? Who's talking here? Who's got stuff to say? I mean, Juan is like straight up is like likes Zappa and doesn't like Beefheart. That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the watching Zappa interviews to listening to Beefheart pipeline is definitely real.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
much. That is very, very real. Oh, you can't even see the comments, right? Because you're like,
Let me double check, but I don't think so.
because it's not up on the normal YouTube page.
No.
It's only up on my it's only up on my fucking what's it called?
YouTube Live or whatever.
The YouTube Studio Zone.
Yeah.
Word, man. I don't know. I'm feeling good. Maybe we're all right. Maybe we did our thing.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to end it, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm just kind of like I don't really want to end it because I'm just kind of like
Okay.
I'm kind of just vibing, you know. Let's just keep going. I don't know. What else is that?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that, man. Yeah.
I don't know. Are you like, what else is up, dude? I mean, no future. You're killing it. It's going great. You got some.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I guess things coming up. I won't say specifically what it is, but this Monday I'm recording an episode with someone that I think you in particular would be interested in. But yeah, look, when that episode drops, if you look on the timeline, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm just hoping that I don't drop the ball when I talk to him. But yeah,
interesting.
I'm looking forward to that one. I think it's going to be very cool.
I don't have an image in mind. I don't have a candidate
That's good. I'm trying not to I'm trying to not say anything so as not to jinx. I don't want it to get fucked up.
More famous or something, or more high profile than previous guests? Not
necessarily, but like, I guess the only thing I'll say is like, I think you and I are like the only people I know on Twitter who follow him. But it's a music guy, and yeah.
Cool. Okay. Not a based takes guy.
No.
It just straight up music. Yeah. Interesting.
I shouldn't say this, but I guess technically there is a way in which he is based adjacent, but that might be giving away.
Based adjacent.
When the episode comes out and you see who it is, you'll be like, oh, I know why he said that. Okay.
Yeah. Fresh, man. Okay, great. Good. Yeah. So onward and upward with that, man. It's I love the no future vibe, man, because the thing of music going having like a score to it, you know, it's like a soundtrack, you know, is like a very good that's a very good move, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you think so, because when I dropped that episode that I did with Logo about like William Blake and Sotos and Jonathan Richman, like that was the first time I ever got like any negative feedback about it, like any of the episodes. And there were like a decent number of people who just like, why is this fucking music here? What is this shit? It was just like very funny to be like, what? I don't know, just very confusing to me why anyone cares enough to even like say that, I guess, because like I'm not gonna stop doing that.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, when you the bigger and bigger audience you reach with anything, the more people, the more annoying bullshit comes in, because when you're doing something that's like small, it's like the only people that are into it are cool people that you would want to hang with. But then the radius goes out and you get people who are like kind of like you, but they suck. And then you get people who aren't even like you at all. You know, it's like that's sort of the like, you know. I didn't check that one out. You did one with Logo Daedalus you're talking about. Yeah.
It was Logo, Adam Lair, and then I don't know if you know him, but Max Thrax. He's like a writer who I know from Twitter. Yeah.
I don't think so. Max who?
Max Thrax.
Yeah. You guys talked about Blake?
We talked about Blake, that's Peter fun. Sotos, and Jonathan Richman.
Nice.
Which I thought was a very funny pairing.
Blake, I fuck with. Yeah, I mean Sotos and Richmond, I don't know. Like, well, I'll have to listen to it to hear what.
Blake is the connective tissue between those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really not like a Sotos fan, bro. I mean, I'm not against. I just like, I don't know. There's certain types of like, I don't know, man. I bore of just transgression, you know, like.
I mean, I get that. It's definitely something that it's not for everybody, but I think there is genuinely a place for like Sotos. One, because it is like one of the few things in art that I genuinely still find terrifying, which I think is like a valuable thing to be able to look into hell and like have it actually emotionally affect you.
Well, definitely.
And then also, I think like when you engage like enough with it, there are like sort of there's more than just like edgelord shit going on there. I think there are sort of like similar sort of I don't know. It's sort of like, I guess the thing I would say is like, it's like fucking Desaad, but like read through like McLuhan or something, which I don't necessarily know enough to like say if that's like directly on point, but like that's the best explication I can give knowing what I know.
I'm definitely gonna have to listen to that episode. Now,
Yeah.
Sod is fucking funny. Like that shit is like more funny than dark. Really, it's just just these like very reasonable explanations and like
Of just
descriptions.
horrific things.
Just absolute fucking absolute brutality. Yeah, man. I
I
don't know.
remember I used to be in this like Facebook group chat like a couple of years ago. And, like this guy who I knew, who's like is how I got into like the Facebook group chat, was like he started reading this on and was just like, man, this sucks. It's just really boring. And like someone in the group chat had to like sit him down and be like, no, that's the point. Is that it's boring.
Yes. No. That's the vibe, man. No, that's the vibe. I mean, that's why. I mean, he's almost just kind of biting Desaad with this vibe, but that's why like American Psycho. As the book, you know, it's like his deal like is just it like he makes it boring, you know. He's like listing the violence and listing the brand names and listing what everyone's wearing. It's just like it's like numbing, you know. It's like I'm numbed out by this shit, you know. But I still there's not a lot of art. I mean, I don't know if there's art that I still find scary. I mean, Lynch still, Twin Peaks, you know, The Return a little bit. Music wise,
I'll say that I find Lynch I find like that's the most emotional I get over any art anymore is Lynch, but it's not terror, it's just like sadness. Like especially like Fire Walk with Me, like by the end of that, like I'm always crying. It's not like horror necessarily.
I find Fire Walk with Me really fucking scary, actually. But
I understand why, but just it has a slightly different effect on me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like literally just man, anything that's like Lynch just dealing the way he's just dealing with time is just scary. Just his dealing with time. Somehow his the horror aspect is like really bound up with like time and timelines and shit. But like, I don't know, man. As far as like music though, I'm like, I don't know. Sodos is still, you know, well, I mean, it's just like writing and shit, but I mean, just in general, like, fucking, I found Swans very scary at first.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. When I first, like, I got into like Throbbing Gristle and Swans like around the time that I got into like most other like sort of post-punk stuff like in middle school, which is like a very weird time to get into that stuff, one, and then two, like when I first got into it, like it's all scared like the piss out of me. Like I could only listen to like, I don't know, like Hamburger Lady or like something off of like Phil for like maybe a minute at most, and then I had to like tap out, and then just like a week later I'd come back to it because it's like, this is awesome. I can only stick it out for like a minute, but this kicks ass.
Yeah, being unable to stick it out in a piece of art, you know, is very I mean, people who like dark shit though do like Beefheart. I mean, that is part of this that is part of this lineage, man. This tradition. Yeah. I've been I mean, what have I even been fucking vibing to lately? I've been in like a serious jazz phase, man. It's just like not dark at all, but like literally just traditional fucking just like bebop and shit. I don't know.
Any specific artists or just?
I mean, just like literally just like it's just like Bud Powell and stuff. I mean, just like the really old school, just like literally just Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. You know?
Okay, nice.
It's like the least dark shit in the world, you know.
Okay.
I mean, lifestyle.
Yeah, I've been
dark, but
the actual music is very I don't know, especially now, just like very like upbeat, I guess. But yeah, I guess lately I've been other than this past week, I've mostly just been listening to Morrissey, which is a very boring thing to say, but god damn it, I love Morrissey.
It's my favorite, probably my favorite singer. I mean, short list, man.
Yeah, he's his voice is incredible, and then just like he's probably, for my money, like the most fascinating sort of like pop icon to ever exist. Like, no, there's so many like weird like artful layers that like to him being like willing himself into being like a pop icon, like in that like the way that juxtaposes with like his actual body of work. There's so much to fucking mull over there that's been like really fascinating to me lately.
Yeah, it's just so singular, man. So fucking singular. Yeah, how he just pulled that off, man, you know.
Yeah,
how that guy ended up in the same band with Johnny Marr, like those two people just growing up together, like that's insane. Like just the genius collision. You know, it's like it's fucking bonkers, man. By the way, that Kirsty MacColl cover of You Just Haven't Earned It Yet, that's been on repeat.
So good.
It's so good, man.
So good.
I was going through her discography, and there's some good stuff. It's, it's uneven, obviously, but
Okay.
she's got other
Yeah,
shit though.
Okay. I still haven't done that. I've kind of like, I found that cover and then just like, yeah, I'm just going to listen to this on loop for a while. And then I occasionally go back to it. And
That's been all week.
I haven't done the full dive into her discography or anything.
Yeah. That's been all week. But yeah, like, it's not like, there's not like a ton to like go wild over, but there's some, just her voice is great. I just love her. Yeah. Her like,
oh yeah, she has a phenomenal voice.
It's like vocal style. That's sort of bringing that girl group energy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And then apparently, and I didn't know this, but apparently that's her doing backing vocals on Big Mouth Strikes Again on Queen is Dead.
Right. And some other tracks too.
Which I didn't know until I read like Morrissey's autobiography.
Yeah, and on Ask also.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
there's just some like mama, this kind of like stuff in the background. Yeah. That's why I've been getting into her voice, because it's like she was like all in demand as this backup singer, because she's kind of got that kind of voice, this like wispy, kind of perfectly in tune, kind of ooh and ah, like not cutting through, so then when she's up front, it has a very particular kind of it almost sounds like Shirley Collins or something, like, I don't know, this kind of like wispy, like transparent, kind of transparent kind of, I don't know, there's something very intimate about it. I don't know.
Okay. No, I can definitely see that. I wouldn't have thought about that, but that makes sense. Yeah.
I just thought of it right now. Yeah. Like, yeah. So yeah, thank you for sending me on that kind of like Kirsty MacColl tangent,
No problem. Happy to do it, man.
You know that song Fairy Tale of New York, right?
Actually don't know.
Oh, that was like her big hit. Yeah.
Oh, no idea.
It's not good. Yeah, no, it was like this Christmas song from like in the late 80s. Like it's like her, and it's like a duet with her and the guy from the Pogues, I guess.
Oh, Shane McGowan?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's who it is.
Combo to be, but all right.
I think that's what it is. Here, let me here, Jamie, bring that up. It's so stupid. Wait, it's Kirsty MacColl, Fairy Tale. Yeah, that's like, yeah, it's the guy from the Pogues. It's like the Pogues featuring Kirsty MacColl. It's like some stupid fucking Christmas stuff, but her voice is great. She sounds great. Yeah. Word, man. Well, yeah, dude, we did a nice 2 hours. Let's pack it in. Let's pack it in. Yeah. I mean, I would totally address like questions in the comments, but yeah, people aren't really getting someone's asking, what is No Future? Let's plug it again. No Future is Will's podcast. Almost entirely about music, right? Would you say, or
I'm trying to make it less about music, but like me being me, it inevitably ends up being a lot of music because that's what I know the most about. So.
Yeah. No, it's good to, yeah. Yeah, definitely check out No Future. Yeah, what's the next step? Have you announced the next episode, or?
The next episode is actually the one I did on Happiness by Todd Solondz and then Whole by Fetus. So
nice. And who's the guest on that?
Do you know George? I think Silva's his actual name that he's going by now, but he used to be Based Materialism on Twitter.
Oh yeah. I had seen that name around. I don't follow him, but I remember being like, man, I thought of Based Materialism before, but whatever. It's like, obviously he arrived at it on his own. Yeah. But
him and then Matt, who's like a perfume Twitter guy, who I don't know like how much that crosses your timeline, but yeah, he's part of that. A
little bit, yeah, no, a little bit. I know. I mean, yeah, I got some perfume in my Twitter. I don't know. It's like.
Oh, and since I brought him up, I guess I'll also shout out the Salt Box, which is Matt's podcast, which you should listen to. It's pretty entertaining.
So was it the Smallpox or
the Salt Box?
The Salt Box. Okay, right. All right. It's a lot of interesting podcasts, man, happening at this point. Yeah, Based Materialism. Yeah, I was writing this chamber piece it was titled Based Materials. Okay. But then I changed it. the name, because people are already on that shit, you know.
Yeah.
Bataille, man. But you want to talk about bass, man? Bataille is just like so sick, dude. You're a Bataille fan, I assume, right?
I mean, I'm very interested in Petrified, but all I've read up to this point is Story of the Eye. Like, I need to like delve more into like the actual philosophy, which I've wanted to for like a while, but just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, man. Well, actually, just the collection of essays. What the fuck is it called? It's not the. Is it the Accursed? No, that's another one. Visions of Excess is the one that has that essay about Gnosticism and based material. Gnosticism and base materialism.
Okay.
It's not based materialism, but Gnosticism and based materialism. It's fucking deep. That guy, like, you want to talk about like beyond, like whatever left and right or beyond, like just he's occupying some sovereign above space or below our systems. Put it that way.
Okay.
But sick, man. All right, we're leaving it with a no future plug and a Bataille plug. That's good.
Yep.
That's a good way. That's a good way to sign out. Well, dude, thanks so much for making it by. I'm glad it worked out tech wise. We'll see. We'll see if this whole
sorry
thing.
again about all the technical troubles.
Oh, it's all good, man. I mean, you don't.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh no, thanks for coming. I mean, you don't do live streams. You do podcasts, which is it's like it's a lot more. Well, see, you can do the crafting. Do like the soundtrack. It's a different. It's like more of a. The things are more like crafted gems. This is more just like materials. Based materials. Sick, man. I will see you around soon.
See you around, man.
Yeah. All right. Peace, man.
Peace.
All right. And do I do my little closing statements? There's never any closing statements to make after this. Everyone logs off, as well they should. I don't have any real like new plugs for what I'm doing. Just look out, because there's a bunch of shit coming out this summer, but I'm keeping it on the low. Word. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for listening. Again, Discord. If you want in the Discord, just send me an email, charredlurker, CharredLurker @gmail.com.